Welcome to today's video, 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14 explained. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. This verse comes from a critical moment in the Old Testament, where God is speaking to King Solomon after the dedication of the temple in Jerusalem. Solomon had just finished building the temple, a place where the people of Israel could meet with God, offer sacrifices, and seek His presence. God responds to Solomon's prayer by making a covenantal promise to His people. The broader context shows us that this was not just a message for ancient Israel, but it contains principles that apply to believers in every generation. God's words here are part of a response, not only to Solomon's prayer but also to Israel's future disobedience. God knew that Israel would face times of hardship and struggle, some of which would come as a result of their own actions. But God also made it clear that there was always a path back to Him. Breaking down this verse reveals a powerful call to humility, prayer, and repentance. God is addressing His people, those who are called by His name. In biblical terms, to be called by God's name signifies belonging to Him, having an identity that is tied to God. Today, Christians are also called by His name, so this message is relevant for us too. The first instruction is to humble themselves. Humility is a foundational principle in approaching God. Without humility, we cannot truly submit to God's will. Pride blocks us from hearing God and blinds us to our need for Him. When we humble ourselves, we acknowledge that we are not self-sufficient, and we need God's help and guidance in every area of life. Next, God instructs His people to pray. Prayer is the primary way we communicate with God, seek His direction, and express our dependence on Him. But this isn't just about asking for things, it's about relationship. Prayer is about seeking His presence and desiring to be close to Him. The verse continues with the command to seek His face. This is more than just prayer for needs, it is a deep pursuit of God's character, will, and heart. Seeking God's face means prioritizing His presence and favor above all else. It is about desiring a deeper relationship with Him, beyond just rituals or traditions. Finally, God calls His people to turn from their wicked ways. Repentance means turning away from sin and aligning our lives with God's ways. This is more than just feeling sorry for wrongdoings. It's about a complete change of direction in our actions, thoughts, and habits. It's about living in a way that pleases God. Then comes the promise. God assures that if His people respond in this way, He will hear from heaven. This means God will respond to their prayers, not just with distant observation, but with action. He promises to forgive their sin and to heal their land. Forgiveness of sin is crucial because sin separates us from God. When God forgives, He restores the relationship, and the healing of the land represents restoration not only in the physical sense but also spiritually, emotionally, and communally. This verse speaks to the collective responsibility of God's people. While it applies to individuals, it is also a call for corporate repentance and humility. Nations, churches, and communities are invited to return to God in unity. When believers come together in prayer, humility, and repentance, God is faithful to bring about transformation and restoration. The healing of the land isn't limited to crops and physical health but symbolizes wholeness in all areas of life. In today's context, our land could represent our families, our communities, or even our hearts. God desires to bring healing to broken relationships, to a divided society, and to wounded spirits. This verse gives us a clear roadmap for spiritual renewal in our lives today. First, we need to humble ourselves. It's important to regularly check our hearts for any pride or self-sufficiency that might be hindering our walk with God. Humility opens the door for God's grace to flow into our lives. We should be people of prayer, not just praying for things we need, but truly seeking God's face, His presence, and His will. In a busy world, it's easy to focus on our own desires and neglect genuine prayer, but we are called to make God the priority in our lives. Repentance is key. We need to continually turn away from sin and anything that distances us from God. This could be bad habits, attitudes, or actions that don't align with His Word. Repentance is an ongoing process of growth and change in our spiritual lives. Lastly, we must have faith in God's promise to hear us, forgive us, and bring healing. This verse encourages us to trust that God is attentive to our prayers and is willing to restore what is broken. Whether it's a personal issue, a family struggle, or something on a larger scale, God is capable of bringing healing when we align our hearts with His. Thank you for joining us today as we explored 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14. If this verse spoke to you or encouraged you, be sure to subscribe, like this video, share it with others who need to hear this message, and leave a comment below about how this verse applies to your life. May God bless you and bring healing to every area of your life as you seek Him with all your heart.